Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with us again tonight. As you can see, we're not on site tonight. We're not at the church. Thankfully, we have some progress going on our education building, so we're not able to be there tonight, but we wanted to make sure we could still get some word to you this week, and I have the privilege of bringing that to you. But before we get into that, as always, I'd like to ask you guys, if you would, please click the link in the description of this video or the QR code here on the screen. And it's the same thing we do every Sunday. We want to be the church. And this gives you the opportunity to connect. It gives you the opportunity to request prayer or care, whatever you may be. So if you guys would, please do that just to let us know that you're with us and let us know of anything at all that we can do as a church to better you. So without any further ado, tonight we're going to look at the life of Joseph. Now, we've been in Genesis for a while, and this story stretches across 13 chapters of Genesis. But it reads like a master class almost. It helps us understand how God uses pain, betrayal, delay, and disappointment to position us for his purpose. Now, Joseph's journey reminds us of something every believer needs anchored in their heart. And that is God's plan doesn't fail because of the pain we face. His plan often moves through it. Now that might be a little bit of a tough word, but stick with me. So tonight, I want to walk us through Joseph's story, highlighting three major lessons that we can take from his journey. And I want to make it very practical for our lives today. So in the beginning, we'll start with Joseph. When he was 17, that's when we meet him. He's young, he's gifted, he's favored by the Lord, and he's completely unprepared for what's going to happen next. It begins as Jacob's favorite. He begins as Jacob's favored son. His father gives him the famous coat of many colors that we've all heard about. And God gives him prophetic dreams of influence and leadership. But instead of celebrating him, his brothers become just consumed with jealousy, and they end up in the end, in that jealousy, they plot to kill him, actually. They throw him into a pit. And eventually they sell him off as a slave. Now, in one moment, Joseph goes from being the favorite son of the house to a forgotten servant. He ends up being taken to Egypt, where he ends up in the house of a man named Potiphar. Even there, God's favor is on him. Joseph, he rises in influence again. But just when things seem to be kind of going his way, seem to be improving, Potiphar's wife lies about him, and Joseph is then thrown into prison. And he's thrown in for a crime that he didn't commit. Now, you might think, here we go again, he's going to stop everything. But listen, in prison, Joseph stays faithful. He serves, he leads, he interprets dreams, he gives hope to the cupbearer and the baker, and the cupbearer promises to remember him, but never forgets him. 2 years pass. Joseph, he waits. He's sitting there overlooked, misunderstood, just like he was before. But God is not done with him. When Pharaoh has troubling dreams and he cannot understand what the dreams are about, and it's really bothering him. So what happens is he goes, and the cupbearer remembers Joseph, and he goes and gets him. And Joseph stands before Pharaoh, and then he interprets the dreams. And then again, in one day, he goes from now being a prisoner to being prime minister. Only God, right? So later, his brothers end up coming to Egypt because there's a great famine throughout the land. And they stand before him, they're asking for help. They don't know it's him. They're completely oblivious to the fact that this is the brother that they threw out, that they sold into slavery. Now, you would think that, some of us would probably be a little vindictive, and who knows where things would end up. But instead of taking revenge, Joseph chooses forgiveness, restoration, and redemption. And he gives us one of the clearest statements of God's sovereignty in Scripture. You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. I'm going to say that again. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for all for good. Now, there's three, like I said, there's three things that I want to highlight tonight. Three lessons that we can learn from his journey. Lesson one is that God is working even when we can't see him. He's always working behind the scenes. Every painful place that Joseph ended up, it was necessary. It was a necessary part of his story, a necessary link in the chain of his life that got him from where he was to the assignment that God had for him. Now, your pain doesn't mean God's plan is paused. And you're waiting, it doesn't necessarily mean that God has stopped working. It's not what it means at all. So, just be patient in whatever you're going through. And character matters way more than convenience. This is the second thing that we want to take away from this tonight. Joseph is consistent throughout every season, no matter where he's at. Whether he's in Potiphar's house, he's being faithful. When he was in prison, he was still faithful. Even when he was in the palace, which you think, well, that's easy. He wasn't taking it for granted. He was still faithful. The pain that we experience at times, it exposes our character. The waiting that we have to endure sometimes, it refines it. Joseph's consistency is what carried him, and it carried the calling that he had placed on his life. The third lesson that he teaches is quite simply is that God's purpose for our lives, his purpose, his master plan, it's bigger than the pain. The famine that took place, it didn't catch God by surprise. Joseph's journey, it wasn't random. It was preparation. What actually looked like betrayal was more like transportation. The things that happened in his life that looked like a setback was actually setting him up and setting up the salvation for an entire nation. God wastes nothing. No matter what the situation, God finds a way to use it for our good. Now, how can we live this out in our own lives? The first thing that I would say is no matter what, trust God even in the darkest of places. When you're in those dark rooms, those dark sections in your life, just be faithful, just like Joseph. Trust in God and be ready, because the promises that he has for you will not fade away. They will be there. You might have to wait, but they'll be there. Just say every now and then, we'll take the time and say a little prayer. Lord, I trust you even when I don't understand. Now, second, again, staying with the theme of what Joseph did, keep your character consistent. Anyone can be faithful when life is easy. When things are going your way, it's easy to give God all the glory for everything that you have in your life. It's when things are difficult. It's when things are not going your way. Just like with Joseph, when life seemed unfair, he was still faithful. We have to keep that same heart posture in everything that we go through in life. Choose integrity this week in just pick one area. Just pick one. It could be your work, your relationships, finances, even just simple conversations. And whatever you choose that integrity, because it builds on and off of your character. It builds your character up, or it can destroy it all in a single moment. Now, third, this one can sometimes be hard. Forgive quickly. Joseph, through all this, he could not walk in full restoration while holding on to that resentment in his heart. Forgiveness, it never denied the pain that he was feeling. It was releasing the power of it. And think of someone who maybe have hurt you in their lives, in your life, or a situation or circumstances. Pray over their name. Release them and ask God for healing for yourself and for the situation. Now, fourth, we have to expect God to redeem what was lost. Joseph did not end where he started. And neither will you, neither will I. Wherever we are, we're not going to go back to where we were. God had moved us from this place to get us to this place. And you may not even see where this place is yet. You may be somewhere in the middle of this journey. But you cannot take any of the credit away, and you cannot forget that he will redeem whatever's lost, and he will not leave you stranded in the middle of your journey. Ask God, Lord, what are you forming in me for during this season? Good or bad, whatever it is you're doing, just ask God, what is the purpose of this season? And then just pray over it earnestly and just try to hold on to it, whatever it may be. Now, overall, Joseph's life, it gives us a completely clear truth. And that truth is that God's plan can run straight through the pain and still come out perfect on the other side. Think about this. The pit didn't stop it, didn't stop God's plan. The prison didn't stop it. The betrayal that he suffered at the hands of his brothers, it didn't stop it. The delays, everything that took place that slowed him down, it did not stop God's plan. And whatever you're facing, it's not going to stop God's plan for you either. Genesis 50, verse 20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. We talked about it earlier. Stick close to that verse. God's purpose in your life, it's bigger than the pain that you've walked through. Any pain that you walk through now, any pain that you will walk through in the future. And he will redeem every part everything that you've lost throughout this journey. And he will put you in a better place. So, Father, tonight, as always, Lord, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to just be a part of your story. I thank you for the journey that you've taken us on. I thank you for the good times and the bad, Lord. I will praise you throughout it all, because I know that no matter what is going on in my life, you have a destination for me. And that is where you want me to be, and that is where you will end up taking me. That was where you will take all of us, Lord, is to follow your plan and to just do it and give you all the glory. So, Father, we ask for patience in the times, and patience and strength in the times of difficulty, because we know that you are there and we know that you are beside us. We ask for opportunities to glorify you when things are good and bad. Give us those times to simply just glorify your name and your path. So, Lord, thank you for all those who are watching and all those who will hear this later on. I ask, Lord, that you bless them, protect them, and guide them to their ultimate destiny that you have planned out for us.